and about last night's assassination attempt on Justice Kavanaugh. I want to talk about something you're doing Monday, which I applaud greatly. You're going up to the Kennedy Institute in Boston, not the Kennedy Institute of Politics. That's run by my college roommate, Mark Guerin, but the Senate, the Edward Kennedy Institute, to moderate a debate between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders. And I'd pay cash money for that, Bret. Tell us about that.
It's a long time coming. A lot of organizations involved, including the Edward Kennedy Foundation, the Orrin Hatch Foundation, Senate Project, Bipartisan Policy Center, and it's an effort to bring back old school debate about substance and how the Senate used to work. And we were really interested when we were tossing around the ideas of the project, and we signed on for a series of 3 debates with various figures on both sides of the ideological spectrum, with the hopes that in a very civil way, they could debate the differences, but then get to possible places where they could see eye to eye. And that's really the goal of these series of debates around the country. And this is the first one in Boston between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders. And you can't figure 2 characters that are more ideologically different, but also very good at articulating where they are.
Well, Lindsey is the funniest senator. I've said that for a long time, and Bernie certainly is going to be heard. Is there an agenda? Have you agreed on format? 5 minutes, 5 minutes? Is it Lincoln Douglas style? What's the actual layout?
Yeah, it is much more formal. There's an opening statement, and I think it's actually 3 and 3 minutes opening statement, and then there's some back and forth. The topic is domestic policy. We're not going to go too far afield into foreign policy issues, but it's wide open. I mean, it's 30,000 feet, and then there's it's in the well of the Senate, if you will, in the Edward Kennedy Center, and then there's a sit-down portion where I do Q&A and they respond to each other. So it's an hour and not interrupted. It'll be streamed live on Fox Nation, and then we'll turn it around next weekend on Fox News Channel and do the same thing in the series of 3.
Do you expect to get to the package of measures that Senator Cornyn is leading the conversation for the Republicans on school safety, guns, et cetera?
I bet we will. In that, obviously, that covers domestic policy and one of the things that's front and center. And I think that there is that and other places where there will be common ground between the two, and that's what we're obviously striving for.
Now, let's turn to tonight, and then we'll finish with Justice Kavanaugh and the attempt on his life. Tonight, you will be anchoring Fox's coverage of Nancy Pelosi's committee. I hesitate to call it a select committee because the Republicans are not participating, although my friend Liz Cheney is a member of the select committee put together by Nancy Pelosi. How are you doing this tonight? If I watch it all, the A's are playing the Indians, the Guardians in Cleveland tonight, and it's the first chance for them to be about 500 this year, and they're only a game back in the loss column behind the Twins, so I kind of think I'm going to be watching the Guardians versus the A's, Bret. But how are you going to approach it?
Yeah, so we'll have some time before it starts. Martha and I will be on Fox Business Network, along with a series of guests, Jonathan Turley, Mark Short. We've got a balanced panel, Jessica Tarloff, others. We'll have kind of a setting the table. We'll take the hearing, and then when they take breaks, we'll jump in, and we'll provide analysis throughout. And then afterwards, Martha and I will be a part of Shannon Bream's 2-hour show, kind of recapping the hearing and the highlights and the lowlights from it. So, it just provides viewers an opportunity. On FNC, the opinion programs are going to keep going. They're going to dip in as warranted. But if someone wanted to watch, unobstructed, if you will, and have news analysis from us, we'll be on Fox Business. We'll stream on foxnews.com. It'll be on Fox Nation without a paywall, and obviously Fox Audio as well.
Now let me turn to the assassination attempt. You led your show with it last night, and I applaud that. And I was lucky to be on a panel with Bret Hugh and Mara Liasson, who, if they're not the 2 most respected journalists in D.C., they're tied. And so I'm sitting there listening to you lead off, and it was very sober. It's such a sobering situation. I'm a little bit astonished by the landing pages of the major papers today, Bret Baier, because the story is there, but it's not the lead.
It's amazing, Hugh. It's just amazing. I always do this, and we always do this, but look through the prism. If this had been, some right-wing person standing outside Justice Kagan's house or Justin Sotomayor's house and being arrested and saying that they wanted to kill them, I just think, I don't think that the papers would be in the 15th slot, or CNN would have it at the 25th story. I just don't think so. And I think that that's a real problem for our news coverage. This is a big, big deal. And that's one of the things I led with Bret. I mean, this is a big story, right? I want to check myself because it is. And in this environment, we should take all of it seriously, left, right, center. But this is a real thing, a real guy with real weapons who is in real custody.
Yeah, with an affidavit from the FBI charging him with attempted murder. And so that's not a threat. That is an attempt to murder. And it would have been, I called it a Republic sundering event had it been successful, because it would change the makeup of the court and it would paralyze the court and it would incentivize other people to do it. And so I obviously the man is an extremist and a violent extremist. I'm not going to compare him to Senator Schumer. But the rhetoric of Senator Schumer was reckless. You played it last night, and I said it's the equal of any reckless statement I've ever heard. What changes? Do you think the House will pass that bill that the Senate passed unanimously now?
I do. I think it'll take, some cajoling of, back and forth, but I think they have to pass the basic premise that the protection for justices and their families. Believe it or not, there was some inside Democratic debate about not wanting to provide protection for Mrs. Thomas. And that's, nuts, but there's internal communications about,
Wow.
And so it got down to that place in that, as that bill was floating around. And then there were calls from Democratic clerks to the House saying they wanted protection too. And that's where Steny Hoyer drew the line, is that he wanted to add protection for clerks. And by doing that, the Senate said, no, we're not going to do that. We don't provide protection for our staff up here on Capitol Hill. And so the bill is lacking what the Supreme Court really wanted to begin with. But I do believe it passes pretty quickly after this.
Bret, counterfactuals are never easy, and I usually avoid them. But and I won't even say Justice Kavanaugh, had any of the conservative members of the court been assassinated in the last month, what would the consequence have been to the country?
I mean, hypotheticals are tough, Hugh, but that's a massive one, and I think it would throw things into chaos. I think. I mean, you talk about institutions and respecting institutions, and that process about the Supreme Court. I just think it's a massive thing to think about and a horrible thing, and we have got to prevent it.
It is. I try to get my arms around it because I lived through 1968 to 70, and the last 2 years are kind of on that level of tenuousness. You're not old enough to remember that, but you woke up every day, and I remember waking up and Bobby Kennedy being killed, and every Catholic in America was just completely thunderstruck. And I can remember Kennedy being assassinated, barely. But it's just the kind of thing you don't imagine America. So I talked to Michael Oren this morning, who I'm sure you knew when he was ambassador from Israel. And he said when Rabin was assassinated, it shocked Israel too. And I just want to compliment you for doing that. And I hope that you're right about that. I will be watching you tonight. What time does the special coverage get started on Fox Business, Bret?
Just before 8, about 7:55. They expect to gavel in soon thereafter, but we'll have plenty of time to kind of set the table, and then we'll see what they bring to the table. Hugh, this is a big moment for them to call for prime time hearings. The last time we had a prime time committee hearing, 2015, VA hearing. So they've got to bring whatever they've got.
We will be watching, if you are watching, Bret Baier on Fox Business tonight at 7:50 or so. Thank you, Bret.